Show us light from now. Show us sight for where we can go. In the game with no guiding light. Do you know where is the goal? Don't just follow. We can try 'cause we're living now. We lose so many sorrows, but we can swallow. Gonna be our star.
Was anybody out there surprised by this list? Mortal Kombat may have been an awesome fighting game, but the smash hit sequel to Injustice, Injustice 2, blows both games out of the park. Despite the fact that the story suffers in some places and the fact that this game has loot boxes, well shit, I can't like this game now. No. Game's good. Not only is this game 1,000 times better than the original, but the improvements to mechanics, better balance, better accessibility, and having some of the best facial animations I have ever seen in a game to this day, I'm almost tempted to say that this is NetherRealm's best game to date. And then there's the characters. This game has them, and they all kick ass. Well, okay, most of them kick ass. And that's the topic of this video, to show off my favorite characters to play as in Injustice 2. But first, ground rules. First of all, my opinions, my tastes, shut up. The main thing is, if I find a character fun to play as, then they're most likely going to go on the list. So if you don't see Superman on here, which you won't, then just take my opinion with a grain of salt. Second of all, I'm not going to talk about backstories this time. I'll occasionally go into the character's significance to the story here and there, but I'm not the biggest DC Comics fan out there, and I'm just throwing this out there in order to avoid making myself sound stupid, which I will. A lot. Thirdly, no unlockable moves. Because if I took the time to unlock every character's alternate moves, I'd be dead before this video even came out. And so I'm ranking these characters based off their vanilla movesets. Oh, and a fourth one, no characters from Fighter Pack 4. And that's assuming it even exists. Simple stuff to follow. Anyways, let's get this superpower party started. Out of all the characters on this list, Dr. Fate is the one that I knew next to nothing about. Well, at least more than any of the other characters. But even with that said, I definitely grew interested in him as soon as he was revealed. Touting an epic gold Egyptian-styled symbol and helmet, I'm tempted to say that Dr. Fate has one of the coolest designs in the game. But as far as story significance goes, he's just there. He only shows up a few times spouting some vague rhetoric and ends up getting killed at the end of the game. Oh wait, did I forget to put up a spoiler warning? Yeah? Well, too bad. The game's been up for nearly a year, so if I just spoiled that for you, then that's your problem. But at least he's more beneficial to the story than Atrocitus, who only shows up for one scene and never shows up again for the rest of the plot. Plot writing 101, I always say. Dr. Fate, I'd say, is one of the hardest characters in the game to get used to. He isn't the best up close, despite the fact that he can hold his own, but from a distance, Dr. Fate is king. He can fire small bullets of energy that home in on your foes, and he can stock up on symbols of Osiris. It leaves you open to be sure, but hitting your opponent with all three is a recipe for pain and some sick combo opportunities. And speaking of combo opportunities, his character power,
Vengeance of Horus,
whatever the heck that means, changes your spells to have different effects, such as more damage, AoE attacks that drain your opponent's health, and moves with some serious knockback. He also has a combo that teleports him on top of his opponent, and while it can be useful, you have to leave yourself vulnerable to attack, and, well, you just look like a fucking idiot while trying to pull it off. I mean, he may not be my best character, and his complexity may turn off some people, but getting past that nets you one of the kings of ranged offense. Who knows? The gods of fate know the answer. You can never go without a stealthy ninja-type character for your fighting games, and Robin can certainly satisfy that craving. Now, can I just say that if I judge these characters based on their personalities, there's no way that Robin will be on this list in the first place. I may not know much about these characters besides what I've heard from other fans, or from these games, but if Damian Wayne in this game is anything to go by, I completely understand how he earned his love-to-hate status. I like to compare him to Kratos from God of War from time to time. I like them both as fighters, but as characters, I can't stand them. I could see what they were going for, but he just comes off as more of a whiny bitch for most of the game. But thankfully, he has a sword and he knows how to use it. He may be fun to play as, but you might just find yourself hypnotized by how fun his combos are to watch. It's kind of a thing with fighting games in general, I realize. Robin may be a whiny bitch for nearly every interaction, but nothing is stopping him from kicking ass with stylish sword swings and ninja flips that would make even Dante raise an eyebrow. The only thing he has going for distance-wise is a batarang, and yeah, it's pretty pathetic. But enhancing this move can cause an explosion for tripping up opponents. If I had anything to complain about, it's that up close, he's an ass kicker, but from a distance, he's kind of a sitting duck. Especially when up against someone like Poison Ivy or Deadshot. His character power, by default I should stress, has two forms of batarangs. The default yellow lets him teleport to its location upon command, and the red one that is a personal Michael Bay favorite. Boom! His finisher could have been way better, but what we got here is still pretty cool to watch. Robin may be somewhat predictable and surprisingly technical, but what you get out of it is one of the most fun characters in the game. I hear that he's way more fun to play as with the Staff of Grayson, but like I said before, custom moves are not allowed because the RNG in this game hates me with a fiery passion. But his default moveset is something I can get behind. Just as long as I wear some soundproof earplugs beforehand. I just want to point out that this was one of the hardest countdowns I've had to rank so far. I had 9 other characters for this list that were easy picks, but despite the fact that there are nearly 40 characters, I had a hard time trying to find that 10th character. Someone technical like Firestorm, or a grappler like Gorilla Grodd. What am I talking about? Gorilla Grodd sucks. But I ultimately decided to go for somebody a bit more flashy. And so for the sake of simplicity and to finally get this script underway, I went with Supergirl. Huh, this is a first. The main character of a fighting game actually made it into my top 10? I mean, what is this sorcery? Well, if you guys know me, you'd probably know that I don't normally like the poster characters as much as I probably should. But there's just something about Supergirl that I find to be surprisingly fun. Or as this video will show you, I prefer to play as her in her Power Girl costume because, shut up. As far as the other poster characters go, Superman is there, and despite the fact that Batman is one of my favorite superheroes DC Comics has to offer, he's not very fun to play as in my opinion. So Supergirl it is then. But as you might realize, Supergirl is Superman, but stronger, and much better coverage. They both have the dash attack and the ice breath, but everything else about the two is completely different. First off, you have a teleport attack, yes this is important, and a multi-directional eye laser in the form of her character power. You can fire many lasers in multiple directions, but I'm gonna tell you this now, you'll mostly be using the swag laser. It uses up your full character power and one part of your super meter, but that won't matter in the slightest because it's stupidly powerful, it charges relatively fast, and it just looks so cool. Oh baby, look at those swaggy hips. And the best thing, she has the best finisher in the game. Well, okay, second best finisher in the game. But, stop me if you've heard this one before, the only reason she's so low is because she's too simple. Again, simplicity is never a bad thing in my eyes, but when it comes to fighting games, I just need something a bit more technical. I don't know, because I'm just very stupid. Plus, her combo list is somewhat limited, thus she's kinda predictable. It's kinda the same reason why Starfire just barely missed the number 10 spot. Another incredibly fun and flashy character that's marred by her simplicity. But with that said, we still have a great fighter worthy of your time should you get this game for yourself. Robin was one of the reasons I decided to jump on board the Injustice 2 train, but Swamp Thing's trailer definitely made my hype levels go to the moon and back 10 times over. And that's a lot of hype, let me tell you. The Grappler isn't always my favorite type of character in a fighting game, but they can be great fun when I'm in the mood to smack some unfortunate saps. Swamp Thing may not be the best from a distance either, but he's an absolute monster up close. In fact, you could say that he's essentially Robin, but with a slightly better chance of surviving ranged attacks, because he can protrude vines that can literally reach across the screen. Granted, it's sort of picky with its very specific hitboxes, but at least your opponents still had the fear of being smacked across like a ragdoll. And on top of being able to simply grab them with your hands and drain their health, or you can create clones of yourself for quick surprise attacks. Swamp Thing may not seem all that interesting, but he has so many options to consider. Want to smack some bitches in the face with a log? You can do that. You want to spawn some bushes on top of your shoulders? I mean, that sounds incredibly stupid, but sure, you can do that too. Leave it to DC Comics for some incredibly stupid superhero logic. But you know what? I like me some stupid logic every now and then. He may not be the best character in the game, but his somewhat ease of play makes him a decent pick for newbies, and the combination of his abilities make him one of the more satisfying characters in the game. I take this log, I pick it up, and I smash your face in! On the flip side of things, his character power is far from the best thing ever. It can whittle down opponents' health and it prevents them from jumping, but it fails immediately if you jump by accident, or if you get knocked down. Oh, you bitch. And if any of you thought that he was lame before, then his finisher will be the ultimate wake-up slap. Well, looks like it's SubZero's time in the spotlight once again. And we already know about Scorpion's inclusion in the first game as one of the 6 DLC characters. Complete with a massive upgrade in power and a hilariously overblown design, Scorpion was one of the more fun characters in the first game. And with Injustice 2, it only makes sense for SubZero to get the same treatment as well. And if you ask me, I think that his design is even better than Scorpion's from the first game. Whoever did this design, you deserve a pat on the back. And if any of you enjoyed how he played in Mortal Kombat X, which I do, then you'll definitely enjoy his playstyle here. I personally enjoyed his Cryomancer variation in X the most, but the most pleasant thing about SubZero in Injustice 2 is that his fighting style is all 3 variations from X thrown into one. He's got the hammer and ice daggers from Cryomancer, the ice clones from Grandmaster, holy shit, 2 ice clones! And of course, really nothing from the last variation. And for some stupid reason, they changed the input for Ice Daggers and MKX for better combo potential, but the input is so awkward and irritating I don't see why they had to bring it back with the same awkward inputs! Whoops. So yeah, the same SubZero is back and better than ever with all the bells and whistles from X, and he's every bit as fun as he was in X. Maybe even more so. Is that even possible? And his finisher is just as stupidly awesome as you would expect from this game at this point. And I can't believe how amazing his outro is. I mean, Ed Boon, I know you're trying to tell us something, but this is too much. Even though I find him to be extremely fun, I just prefer the next 5 characters. Even if it wasn't for the awkward stabby stab input, why did they change that? I don't get it! He's still pretty fun. And number 6 out of 39 is nothing to be ashamed of. Kuai Liang, never change.
The witch is back.
Yep, truly the most unexpected pick. Out of all the DLC characters that were announced, Enchantress was the one that nobody was excited for. And for me personally, she was at the bottom of my hype list. Mostly because she looked like she'd play like Quan Chi. And Quan Chi is not really my cup of tea when it comes to his playstyle. So leave it to the devs at NetherRealm to prove me dead wrong. Her design, I must admit, is actually pretty cool, despite it not hitting home with a lot of people. But even if you don't like her design, you have to at least admit that it's better than her design in Suicide Squad. And they managed to make her one of the creepiest characters in the game. Just, God no, don't do that. So I guess you could say that Enchantress was a pleasant surprise. And unlike a lot of characters that are great at doing one thing or another, Enchantress is more of a jack of all trades. She's got the energy sword, but she's got a teleport counter that I suck at using, to be honest, and a bunch of spells at her disposal. Her character power lets her summon demons to smack opponents for juggling opportunities, suicide bombs, or as a defensive shield. And the Doom Fist, oh wait, that's the wrong thing. The Doomfist, and being able to suck up an opponent's soul, and the enhanced version of this move regenerates a small portion of her health. Yeah, okay, I see nothing wrong with this. And she has a reflective barrier for those pesky zoning characters. I find her finisher to be a little meh for my tastes, but it's still pretty cool, I suppose. Now this last move I save for last because it's something truly special. Enchantress has this ability to cast curses on her opponents. Or if you want, you can smack them against the wall. That works too. This move is a little too random for my taste, but the effects it leaves make it truly unpredictable. Some effects prevent the use of super meter and clashes to something as silly as guarding, jumping, or even ducking. Never in my life did I think that death by teabagging was something I wanted. And it is glorious. You know, the Enchantress was pretty creepy, but my number 4 is literally the King of Fear. That was a fucking terrible joke. So, this is a thing. If there was anybody that I had interest in as far as backstories go, Batman is one of my favorites in the DC universe. Not just because he's one of the few heroes without any powers, but he has a great ensemble of villains. And alongside Mr. Freeze and the Joker, Scarecrow was always one of my favorites. But given his appearances in Arkham Asylum and as the main antagonist in Arkham Knight, how would you go about putting him in a fighting game? I guess that brilliant bastard Ed Boon always finds a way. I mean, just look at this design. They truly went all out with this character. And I guess we found out where Freddy Krueger went while Mortal Kombat X was in development, because we get treated to Robert Englund's voice as Scarecrow. And honestly, he sells the character perfectly.
You think you inspire fear? You can certainly try. Afraid of the competition? We both use fear as a weapon. Let's explore this terror together. Come on then, kiss me.
I don't like where this is going.
And his movements. Oh, so creepy. Stop that! Scarecrow might just be another character that's dangerous up close but vulnerable from a distance, but he has way more going for him that makes him way more fun than Robin and Swamp Thing. He can grapple you with his giant chain hook or swinging around like a moron that doesn't know how to main Scarecrow. He's got the utilities to go all out, and his combos give off tons of creative opportunities. But the main thing you're going to want to take advantage of is his fear toxin. I mean, the guy has a goddamn obsession with this stuff, and it can do some crazy shit. So you might as well go nuts. Fear toxin gradually lowers opponents' health when they're in your face, and it raises his power of fear over time. You charge that bad boy up all the way, it generates an AoE move that leaves your opponents open for even more punishment. But you only get one use, and thusly it's easy to waste. Robin and Swamp Thing may be pretty good up close, but they're extremely easy to pick off from zoners. And Scarecrow thusly suffers the same issue, but he's way more satisfying to get good with. You know, Sonny, when I was your age, I went to Donkey Kong Land and got good with a ghosty goo and beat up a sassy plant lady. The world is strange sometimes. If there's anything that I'm still not a fan of, his finisher is a little disappointing now that I think about it. But at the end of the day, that's really not that important. I still think he's a ton of fun, and because of that teleport. Teleports for days, bro. Teleport for President 2012. So all the characters in Injustice 2 have multiple definitions for their tier ranking. Characters like Cheetah and Gorilla Grodd are in the meh tiers, characters like Batman and Supergirl are in the pretty good tiers, and my number 3 is in the don't even think about it tier. Oh boy, here we hit the big leagues. Anybody playing this game will easily have a sense of dread when somebody decides to pick Black Adam as their main. Welcome to our fancy fighting game. Pick whoever you want, except for that one. You better not even think about touching that top tier character with a 10-foot pole. I forbid you from doing that, you hockey puck. Yeah? Well, this is my list, so I don't friggin' care what you say. Black Adam is a beast. Ice might be my favorite element, but I'd say that Electromancy might be in my top 3 most desired superpowers if this guy's anything to go by. He's surprisingly difficult to get amazing with, and I never really cared about him during the story mode, but when I picked him up afterwards, there was just something about him that clicked with me. Black Adam's range puts Deadshot and even Poison Ivy to shame with lightning orbs and cloud sparks. And up close? Well, just look at this combo right here and tell me that he isn't absolutely terrifying. He's got the rushdown, the command grabs, and the range. And his character power by first glance is absolute trash, but it can extend his combos to absurd levels if used right. He has just the right amount of potential for variety, and he has tons of ways to mix up his playstyle. Black Adam is broken. Like, he's really broken. He doesn't have a teleport, and that alone will slap him at the top of the tier list, but his Cloud Sparks and that monstrous dive kick more than make him a seriously difficult character to go up against. And his finisher may show off his intense throwing arm, but it's one of the simplest yet visually stunning finishers in the game. Forget about Superman, Black Adam is the real god among us. But because he's so, I do find that winning with him gets a little boring after a while. And because DLC is a thing, there were just 2 more characters that snagged the top spot away. But number 3 out of 39 is nothing to be ashamed of. Don't worry, buddy, at least you're the king of Kondak and competitive. Now here's a controversial opinion for all of you, not that I don't have any of those, am I right? But I might as well get this off my chest. Hellboy is my second least favorite DLC character. Alright, better start boarding up the entrances and windows for the mobs. Not that I hate his inclusion, mind you. In fact, I was shocked to learn that he'd get in the game, and I'm not gonna lie when I said that I was hyped for him. But as much fun of a character he is personality-wise, he's just not very fun to play as. At least not with his default moveset. But we also have Raiden and Black Manta in the second fighter pack, and Raiden is pretty fun, and in fact he was an honorable mention. But to be brutally honest, Black Manta is my favorite fighter pack too. Black Manta may have been the one in Combat Pack 2 to generate the least amount of hype, but he was the one that I was the most excited to play as. I mean, that's probably because I'm just an edgelord myself. What can I say? I look out for my own kin. Even though his inclusion was a shock to a whopping number of 0 people, I'm glad that he was the first character to come out of Fighter Pack 2. Black Manta is a monster in battle. He's got the twin knives for going up close and personal, and he's even got some moves taught to him by Danny DeVito. And from a distance? I mean, does the thought of being skewered and then lasered by a harpoon sound fun? If you answered yes, then I have some serious concerns for you. He's also got some homing missiles if that isn't subtle enough for you. He also has a dash attack as well as a dive teleport. Oh wow, now you're just spoiling me, NetherRealm. And not so surprisingly, his combos string together exceptionally well. Smack your opponents into the air, smash them against the wall, and then smack them down with your harpoon that somehow defies physics. He has a ton of variety in his combos that it makes him extremely unpredictable. And I'd say something about his finisher, but you guys can fill in your own skewer jokes here. And he has the best outro. Now this is edgelord hype. If I had to complain about anything, it's that his character power is a little awkward to control. But at least you can use it for escapes, trolling people, or to just look like a fucking idiot. And I wish that he utilized his eye lasers more often. At least in his vanilla moveset, I should stress. But his vanilla playstyle is what nets him so high on this list in the first place. He's stupidly fun with his standard playstyle, and he's even more awesome with his unlockable moves. But like I said, unlockable moves aren't allowed, so I'm just gonna stop there. This isn't even a contest, guys. Without a doubt, I am proud to give Black Manta the title as my second favorite DLC character. And that outro is simply the best thing ever. I don't care what anybody says. I admittedly never liked Raiden's playstyle in Mortal Kombat all that much, but it seems that they managed to make him fun for the first time ever. Plus, best finisher, no questions. Pretty fun, but he's a little too difficult to master, I find. Easy to master and fun to watch, but she's a little too reliant on her laser blast for my liking. Fun for trolling, but just look at Batman's combos. Now look at Captain Cold's. Enough said. Amazingly fun just for the sake of being an asshole. Consider him my unofficial number 11 if you will. You know, sometimes I feel spoiled when it comes to guest characters in fighting games, especially with NetherRealm, because these guys just love to go nuts with their guest characters, and that still hasn't changed with Injustice 2. We have Predator and Alien in Mortal Kombat X, and MK9 and Injustice 1 have Freddy Krueger and Scorpion respectively, and I've already talked about SubZero in this video, but on top of that, Raiden and Hellboy have decided to join the party. But of course, they went all out with this last character. Now be honest, did any of you ever expect the Ninja Turtles to get in this game? Aw yeah, it's turtle time! Oh man, I gotta tell you, the Ninja Turtles are a famous icon that I know absolutely nothing about. Not that I dislike the series or anything, it's just that I didn't grow up with them in order to have a nostalgic appeal. That's also my stance on Transformers, I'm afraid. But if you thought that Hellboy was a surprise, then the inclusion of the Ninja Turtles was a heart attack and a stab in the chest all at the same time. And that's probably just my inner Triborg screaming with joy at the inclusion. And I just want to say that having all four does not break my rules at all, because while they have slightly different movesets, they are all classified under TMNT, and their combos at large are similar to one another, and you have to change the weapon in order for you to switch to a different turtle, so I'll allow this toss-up between the four turtles. Leonardo is the leader, and as a result is the default turtle. He has all the trappings of having good up-close offense and plenty of mix-ups in his arsenal. All the turtles have the same special moves such as the Shellicopter, the Bombshell, and Turtling. Leonardo has his twin swords for some flashy moves and versatility, but his character power allows him to call upon the other turtles for assistance. Donatello is the most technical of the four with his staff and his Roombas, where they can eliminate projectiles' usefulness, draw their opponents closer, or for some good old shock therapy. Michelangelo is the wild card of the group. I just realized I was describing their character traits, I'm sorry about that. He's the fastest attacker and probably the most unpredictable. He's also the most stylish of the three. Oh wait, I should repeat that. The most 80s, pulling off those breakdancing moves and smacking his opponents with a friggin' skateboard. Man, and I thought Raphael was the violent one. And speaking of Raphael, he is my least favorite of the four, but in the same way I feel about Triborg's Cyrax variation, there's still plenty I find fun about this character. He has the shortest range out of the turtles, and his main gimmick is his height. The more hyped he gets, the stronger his character power becomes. And the stronger his character power becomes, he does... Oh my god! That's... Calm down, dude. That's not that big a deal. And it doesn't even look like he's getting all that hyped. It looks more like he's about to shit himself. But you have to admit, it makes for some excellent meme material. So, Raphael, what'd you think of the new God of War? You like pineapple pizza? What are your thoughts on the ending of Infinity War? Do you think that Infinite was a well-utilized villain? All the turtles are equally fun, but if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably have to pick Raphael as my favorite. I also love the small details that the turtles have, from the references and callbacks to the series, to the death animations. Now this is worth the price of admission, I tell you. They may not be my favorite characters ever, but they easily managed to jump into my favorite character spot in Injustice 2 in the blink of an eye. I'm the Awesome Jimbo, and...
Get over here!
God, I take way too long to finish my videos.